All right, editor, go ahead and put it's the Catalina wine mixer .mp4 file right here. Ready? One, two, three.
It's the Catalina fucking wine mixer, okay?
All right, great folks. Wasn't that a great joke? I'm absolutely ecstatic right now. So either way, welcome back everybody. Today it looks like we got ourselves a nice lovely dev blog here, updating us on a brand new set of parts that are going to be coming in the next update here. And honestly, they do look quite jazzy. They are a nice Halloween themed part here, and they will appear as the Furia themed armor car for Halloween. So that'll be interesting to see what it actually entails. If this is going to be a pack or if it's going to be like an event type of cabin here. It's not quite sure of what it is, but I'm going to guess it's probably a pack because generally anything that comes with a portrait, yeah, that screams to me pack. So, first things first, what do we got here? Well, we got the Catalina Cabin here. Not the wine mixer, unfortunately. But this bad boy here is an interesting cabin. It sounds like what it's going to be like. It's going to be a medium tier cabin here. So that's probably going to be somewhere in the medium tonnage to mass limit range with about 12 units of energy, at least from what I can tell, with about medium speed. But with it, it has a very interesting perk here. So with the beginning of each battle, the damage of all weapons mounted on the car with this cabin will be reduced. By dealing damage with your weapons, you will gradually accumulate a bonus for these weapons up to a certain value, and the effect will last until the end of the battle. Thus, by making a deal with the Wasteland Devil and sacrificing damage at the start, you're able to increase the standard damage of all your weapons by more than 1.5 times. So that is actually a pretty interesting cabin perk. Not gonna lie there, Sonny D. Downside, I have no idea how this actually functions, because we get a general gist of kind of how it works, maybe not, maybe so. Because the thing is, how much of our damage is actually reduced at the beginning? Is it 60%? Is it 80%? Is it only a 10% reduction? That'll be really important. Because if you're able to not really have a noticeable damage depreciation at the beginning, but a 1.5 times damage accumulation by the end, that's pretty substantial. Also, how do you acquire this? Is it going to be similar to like some of the other guns where you have to do consistent hits on a target and it slowly ranks up, and if you miss a shot, it reduces? Or is it based off total damage? Is it based off total damage only to the cabin itself? How long does this last? Does it last permanently? Does it gradually go down too? Things like that are actually going to be the important part of it, because the thing is, if it's difficult to actually get to that 1.5 times damage boost, then it may not be a terribly useful perk, but if it's super easy to get to, then this thing could be basically a mainstay for any sort of damage builds. And another thing with this is that since it lasts the entire battle, this would indicate that this would be absolutely perfect for things like PvE raids that last upwards of 10 minutes. So by the end of the game, you're doing some oodles of damage. So that'll be something to keep in mind here. This cabin here is definitely going to be a very hot commodity here, especially if it's as powerful as they make it out to be. Now, the only other way they could really make this thing not as good is depending on how its implementation of the perk actually works. Because I'm thinking maybe cannon builds, scorpions, and things like lances would not really be able to utilize this effectively. But for basically things like shotguns and machine guns and autocannons, these bad boys can definitely utilize this thing to a very hefty degree. And also, how does this work with things like drones too? I assume it's also calculated in, but we'll have to see. This implementation though, could be very, very spicy. Next thing too, we got the new module Days here. So this is a pretty interesting module in the sense it's able to actually disable other vehicles here in a pretty interesting fashion. So the other willy entity of the new car is revealed not only of its cabin, but also new module. Daze is the best description of your enemy will experience when he feels its effects. The active module completely disables enemy weapons twice for a short time if they're close enough to you. But even here, you will have to pay the price. During the operation, the module reduces its speed and power of the owner of the armored car and becomes explosive. So I'm kind of curious if the car itself becomes explosive, or if the module itself becomes explosive, or if individual parts on the car become explosive themselves. So I'm interested to see how this turns out. But the fact that it disables weapons here, it's going to be a very interesting weapon. Basically, dog builds or anything like that could see a massive benefit to this like this. Especially if any vehicle is alone and they have no allies to help with it, it can be a very huge, like, basically killer for a lot of people. And imagining on lance builds or melee builds, ooh, ooh! Now the thing is that the fact that it actually reduces the speed and the acceleration of the car, that can help along with the explosion-esque effect of it. It also depends on what the actual range, the sensitivity to explosion, and how durable is this part going to be. Because if it's basically as durable as an ammo pack, then it's not terribly going to matter for a lot of like short burst combat situations. but it'll be interesting to see how it is. And if it also consumes energy too, because if it doesn't consume energy, then this is going to be basically a no-brainer for all melee builds. But if it costs like 2 or 3 energy, then might be more of a concern. That and actually how long are the weapons disabled is also a good thing too. And the fact that it does it twice is a bit interesting here. Does that mean like it basically stuns it once, you get a brief period of fire, and then it stuns it again type of deal? So I'm kind of curious as to how that implementation of that effect is actually going to affect cars like this. But basically, this is going to be a great way to ram 5 fingers deep on a melee build and really not let go. Beyond that, got a nice old Jonathan portrait here, looking like he's probably going to sell me bath salts out of whatever wasteland kitchen he's got going on. But all right there, thank you, discount Keanu Reeves. Feel free to go ahead and pause and read his flavor text. Next, beyond that, we also have the decor parts here associated with this Furia pot, and it does actually look quite jazzy. It definitely gives me a very almost like 1960s X5. Sorry, my god, I cannot pronounce shenanigans today. And honestly, the major thing here, I really like these nice angular lights here, and this really nice sharply detailed front bumper here. Definitely just looks delicious, and I hope these actual lights up here too light up with the cabin and the rest of the car. So that actually look very nice. And I'm also curious about the price of it, because they don't really have the price listed within this pack, or if it's even going to be sold as a pack, or if it's going to be an event weapon, or whatever it's going to be. But if this is going to be a pack, my guess is it's probably going to be fairly hefty. And not to mention too, there seems to be no weapons listed with it, so I'm kind of curious as to what they're going to pair with it, if it's going to make it even much more of a value. But we'll have to see how that turns out. But let me know what you guys think about this ego loaded of the car down below. And beyond that, I want to thank you all for joining us here, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.